I'm author and travel writer Kia Abdullah. Oh, that's a good question. Am I allowed to check my Goodreads? Okay, so a book I liked more than I thought I would is My Absolute Darling by Gabriel Talent. The reason I thought I wouldn't like it is because it seemed to really split readers. So some really liked it, some thought it was really distasteful, and that some of the scenes were really gratuitous. But I really loved it. I thought Turtle was a great character. I thought there was a really strong sense of place, and the writing was beautiful, and so I recommend it. There are two. The first I don't feel guilty about, and that is Lolita. I read that many years ago and didn't really connect with it at all. I find that it tends to split readers down gender lines, and so men tend to like it more than women. Obviously, I haven't done an empirical study to back that up, but it tends to hold true. The second book I do feel a little bit guilty about, and that is Wuthering Heights. I just felt that everybody in the novel spent the entire time being really hysterical and almost to the point of caricature, and so I didn't really get on with that. But everybody tells me I'm wrong, and I'm open to that, so maybe I'll give it another go. A book I wish everybody would read is, this sounds really basic, but it's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Before I read that, I had not necessarily a combative personality, but I was always out to show that I was smart and I was strong and I was capable and I was right. And in this day and age where opinions are so polarized and everybody's out to show that their ideology is the correct one, I think that people would benefit from reading that book. Two other books that potentially would come under this category that have been on my list for a long time are The Sixth Extinction and Eating Animals. And if I were a real pro, I would have said Take It Back, my own novel. That's the book I wish everybody would read. Go read Take It Back. Take It Back is a courtroom thriller in which a 16-year-old girl called Jodie accuses four of her classmates of rape. Jodie is white and the four boys are from Bangladeshi and Pakistani backgrounds. So immediately it draws the attention of the press and the public. And I wrote it not just as a gripping courtroom drama, but also as a commentary on the way we tend to treat people based on what they look like or what they believe in. In this day and age, if you choose not to engage with politics, it's kind of like choosing not to engage with life. And so I have a lot of respect for people who use their platforms to highlight issues that they care about. I tend not to get political on Twitter, only because I don't think there's much room for nuance there. I do write about issues that I care about on my personal blog at kiaabdullah.com. And one thing I'm really trying to do more of this year is take offline action. So if I see a tweet that angers me, I might, write to the Home Secretary to explain why. Or instead of just retweeting something from WWF, I might write to the company who does my tampons and say, can you stop using single-use plastic? And so, without sounding dogmatic, I would hope that people would take offline action. I think Twitter's great at drawing the attention of companies, but I think just old-fashioned letter writing can make a difference too. People tend to be surprised by the fact that I'm a bit of a daredevil. I've jumped out of a plane a couple of times. I love diving. I've done one of the longest bungee jumps in the world. So anything that gets my adrenaline going, I love. What daunts me? That's a really good question. Um, People who know me really well accuse me of having a bit of a Napoleon complex, so little man syndrome. And they might have a point. I think part of that's because I am literally little. I'm 5'1", but also because I am one of 8 children. And so growing up, I always felt that I had to be a little bit alpha, to get things done. But in terms of what daunts me, I think people who are really au fait with literature, so, people who might be able to say things like, oh, well, I find Proust a tad ruminative, and I suggest that you try Flaubert instead. So people who can riff off classic literature without having to think about it and do it effortlessly, I find quite intimidating. Aside from the obvious, things like friends and family and health, I'm really thankful that I grew up in an age before the internet, that I had this space and time to become a reader, to go out into the world, to talk to people. There's nothing wrong with giving children screen time, but even as an adult, I'm aware how difficult it is to rip myself away from a screen, and so I dread to think what that would have felt like as a child. The best advice I've ever received is kind of secondhand. I remember being a child and my sister coming home from work where she was receiving some training, and she said she read something that went a little bit like, confidence is like a swan. On surface, she's calm and majestic, but underneath, she thrashes furiously. And that really resonated with me. Despite the fact that I was a confident child, I think that taught me that I could move in circles that I wasn't naturally comfortable in. What next? My novel Take It Back is out in August. If you like crime or thriller, please consider pre-ordering it. Pre-orders really make a difference. They convince publishers to invest more in your book, and they tell retailers to order more, so please do consider that. After that, God, I have to write a new book.